Welcome back, everybody. Silas out here at the junkyard. It is time for an end of year inventory. I want to see what all's exactly here. I've bought a lot of cars this year. I did crush a bunch earlier in the year, and then I've sold some throughout the year, but I think I've definitely bought more than I sold or crushed. It's a little bit on the chilly side out here today. I think it's like 30 degrees and the wind is blowing out of the north right now. Kind of the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to count the scrap cars that are ready to crush, and that'll be one number, and then I'll count the number of cars out here that I'm not crushing, at least not right away. I'm going to start right here. I actually filled that area over there clear full of cars. I don't have any room left over there. And so now I'm over here. This is where I had the cars stacked up the last time I brought the crusher in, was in this area with just a few over there, but I did it opposite this time. I packed that area full first. There's probably some good parts left on a few of these cars still, but I'm just not into that. I pulled off as much of the goodie as I feel like pulling. The guy can only do so much. So we got two right there, and that is our start. Like I say, I'm not going to count the older vehicles yet. I'll go back through and get those later. I like to have at least 100 cars that are ready to crush before I bring the crusher in here, and I can't fit through there. So let's go around this. Well, I just put this truck here, and I kind of put it in a bad spot. I was in a hurry yesterday, and I organized most everything I moved around, but this is one vehicle that did not get organized. But yeah, I just want to make sure I have enough cars to bring the crusher in here. This is a pretty big pile. Most of these are stacked 3 high. Also, stuff like that up there, I'm going to count that as one car, even though it's not one car, because there's a bunch of stuff like that cab. I won't count that cab. And then there's a couple big truck rear ends and a few other odds and end pieces in here that I won't count. Stuff like this frame down here, I won't count that frame because it's just a bare pickup frame, but there's several big truck frames in there that I will count. And then I've got a few in here that I don't know if I'm going to crush them yet or not. I got this pickup here and this pickup here. I think these are both, yeah, these are both dual fuel tank trucks. This one here is even a 4-wheel drive. And so I'm torn whether or not I want to crush it. I guess it kind of depends on what prices are when the crusher gets here. If cars are up around 300 a ton, I'll probably just go ahead and crush both of them. But if prices are down in the 200 or less range, then I'll probably go ahead and hang on to them. This truck here is actually pretty solid. Very minimal rust in it. This one here is a little bit rustier. And I just realized I've got my microphone on, and over here on this side of the screen, every now and then my little receiver gets in the way. So I better fix that now. There we go, that's better. You can see my microphone's actually right here, and then that's the receiver that plugs it into the camera. They actually make a wireless version for this camera. I guess this is technically wireless, but they make a Bluetooth version to where I don't even have to have the receiver on the camera. I just clip one on me and go. But this in here still works good enough. Now all these vehicles in this pile are ready to crush, except for aluminum. Well, I guess that's a bad example. Those are hubcaps. That one got me. Let's see here. Okay, this one has aluminum wheels on it. That's the only thing I did not pull off of these vehicles, but I drained all the fluids. I pulled the catalytic converters. I pulled all the batteries. All that sort of stuff is out of these. Other than that, and other than the aluminum wheels, I guess I should say, they are ready to crush. And then stuff like this, obviously I'm going to count as one vehicle just because it's a stack of pieces of frames. I'm not crushing that van. That's just kind of where it got stuck. A lot of good parts on there still. We'll worry about it another day. So right now we're at 44 counting this stack. So 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got 58. And this is kind of where I started stacking them. I do have some more over here, so let's squeeze around, check those out. I know you guys always like this Jurassic Park Explorer that I got back here. It's not for sale. I promised that I would crush it when I bought it. I just put it back here because it's kind of neat to see it back here in the trees, overgrown with trees and weeds and everything else. Someday when I get tired of looking at it, we'll go ahead and drag it out, and I have a really neat video idea for it. Let's see if we can squeeze through these trees without poking an eyeball out. A little bit overgrown back here. Once I do crush all these cars out, I'm going to bring my skid steer brush hog back here and widen this road up a little bit. You can kind of see back here behind me, it's a wide open road, but the sides are starting to encroach in on it a little bit, and then I have the road blocked over there, but only by about 3 or 4 vehicles, so I want to get it open to where I can drive all the way around again. I don't know why I started stacking right there. Honestly, I probably should have went ahead and brought them in here further and started down here somewhere. That would have made much more sense. I would have had a lot more room, but I don't always do everything that makes the most sense. I do have a few crusher vehicles down here that somehow have escaped the crusher the last couple of times it was here. Probably going to keep the Celica, but this Ford and this Buick underneath it are both just junk. Then the little J2000, I haven't decided if I'm going to crush it or try to sell some parts off of it. And then the Pontiac underneath it, I believe Mr. Good Pliers is still wanting that. I need to double check with him. So for now, I'm just going to count those two in the crusher lot. All this Japanese honeysuckle. It's an invasive plant here in Kansas. And it is definitely invasive. I need to mow a bunch of it back. But the problem is, the reason why I don't get rid of all of it is because mushrooms do seem to like this stuff. Morel mushrooms. I have found a lot of morels growing right beside Japanese honeysuckle. It's kind of like Chinese elm trees. They're invasive as well, and yet mushrooms love them, so I tolerate them. That's their only redeeming quality. I feel like there was an easier way to get in here, and I chose the worst way. But we're making it slowly but surely. A little bit further to go. Here we go. This is the last little group of them here. And then here's that Mercedes four-door convertible. I think it's pretty well stripped out. There were a few parts I thought about saving on it still, engine parts mainly, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and crush it. I made plenty of money off of the parts that I already pulled, and so I'm already well into the green. Might as well go ahead and crush it, make room for something else. 63, 64, 65, 66, 7, 8, 9, and 70. So I'm a little bit short. I'm at 70, but I do have 4 vehicles that just came in out front that are just crushers. And then I have this van here and this Volvo right here that are junk, so that gets me up to 76. This car's got a manifold converter on it, is why it's still sitting here. I haven't had time to pull the engine to get that off. And then I actually have no clue why that van is still there. That car just came in yesterday. Pretty neat car, 69 Riviera. It's pretty well complete. Bucket seats, center console, just a little bit on the rusty side. I really like the center consoles in these cars. And there's actually an extra center console in the trunk. Door panels in the trunk, bunch of other extra parts, taillights, whatnot for it. I don't know, it may get cut up, it may get saved, we'll see. So we're at 76, and then I've got this Dakota right here, which this is a parts truck. I need to pull the taillights, or at least one of the taillights, and then maybe a few interior parts. There's really not much good left on it, but I do have a 98 Dakota that I drive, which you guys will see that at some point in time on the channel. But other than those last few little parts, that's probably going to be a crusher. So I'll go ahead and count it. That'll get us up to 77. I've got this diesel right here. A guy was supposed to be here today to get that, and I haven't heard from him. So I'm assuming he's not coming. I don't know what to do on that deal. I talked to him on the phone. I hope something didn't happen. He seemed pretty serious. But I guess if he doesn't show up, that'll be a crusher. But I'm not going to count it just in case. Then back there, I've got a frame. So that's 77 or 78, I guess it would be. 79. This is just kind of our stuffer van. Whenever we're cutting up old trucks or whatnot back here, we take all the junk and stuff it in this van. Then back here, I've got that Ford truck over there, and I've got a Chevy truck here that both just have a couple little parts on them. So I'll go ahead and count those. And then this frame here, we just got to pull the engine and the bed off, and then that frame will be junk as well. The cab off of that truck left yesterday, and actually I need to find something to cover that engine up. That's a good running 302 GMC on there. Bingo, this will work perfect. Just to try to keep the moisture out of it. I don't think it's supposed to snow or rain here. They took that back out of the forecast, but just in case. This truck here actually runs and drives still. It's 4-wheel drive. I forget what year it is, but it's a natural gas truck, and the engine is blown up. Still runs, but it runs like absolute garbage. But man, I thought for sure somebody would want parts off of this thing, but I sold the grill, I sold the transfer case, and I think that's all I sold off of oh, the tires. I sold the wheels and tires. Other than that, nobody's really been interested in parts. Kind of a bad deal. Guy paid, I think it was, I have the receipt somewhere. He paid like $4,200 for this truck at an auction on Purple Wave. But anyway, he went and picked it up and he drove it back to Kansas, and it didn't even make it back to Kansas before the engine shelled out. I think I paid $400 for it. So that was a pretty quick $4,000 loss for him. But I'm probably going to go ahead and count that in the crusher lot. Worst case scenario, I'll just knock the axles out of it and then just go ahead and crush it. I mean, I'm not going to be crushing for probably at least 3, 4, maybe 5 months. So it's gonna be a little ways down the road. So by then, maybe something else will sell. And if nothing's sold by then definitely nobody wants anything. So that puts us at 80, I believe. And then I've got this car here is just junk. That's gonna be a crushing video. It's a V12 Jaguar convertible. Only reason I set it over here so it wouldn't get tore up, because I want it to be at least somewhat presentable when I crush it. I thought about saving the engine, but all the wiring's already gone, and I don't know, it's pretty stripped out. So we'll probably just go ahead and crush it. The trailer underneath it I am keeping for a platform to set stuff on, but I'll have a pair of axles and a tongue that I'll be crushing, but that'll just kind of be bonus weight to mix in later. And then I've got 3 complete frames here. I'm not going to count the one on top. So that's 81, 2, 3, 4. And then back here, I've got this big frame. That'd be 85. There's a bunch of other iron and junk back here, but like I say, not going to count that either. I'm going to try to get this corner organized a little bit better, go ahead and get all the rest of the stuff out of here, this junk, move these trucks out, and then what I want to do is everything that sells that people can't pick up right away, I want to bring it back here and set it, and that way it's all in one place and I don't have to dig it out later. And then also that way I can keep track of how long it's been here. That way if they don't pick their stuff up, I can go ahead and keep the deposit and resell it. I don't like being like that, and some people, if they stay in contact with me, it's not a big deal. But I had a couple vehicles this year that people bought last winter and never heard from them again. One of the vehicles out here has been here for almost 4 years now, and the guy hasn't been back since. But anyway, we're sitting at, what was it, 84, I think? Yeah, 84, no, 85. I'm just looking around and I don't know of any other cars that are ready to crush. I've got a handful that I could get ready pretty quickly, and so I don't think it would be an issue for me to get 100 cars. But for right now, I'm not going to count 100 because there's not 100, so I'm just going to say 85 for inventory purposes. Now I'm going to go through and start counting the old cars. And this is going to take quite a bit longer because there's a lot more of them. I've got a few vehicles, like I was saying, that are already sold. Like the cab and clip off of that truck is sold, this cab is sold and paid for. But the same guy that bought these wanted this one, but he didn't give me any money on this one. So I'm thinking if anybody's interested in a pretty rust-free, it does have a little bit of rust, but mostly rust-free, what is this, 55 to 7, somewhere in there, I would go ahead and sell this cab and clipper. Actually, this truck ran and drove, just didn't have any brakes on it. It's got a V8 in it that I haven't started it now in probably a year and a half, but it used to fire up. I'd let it sit for 2 or 3 months, put a battery in it, it would fire right up every time. They drove it out. So if somebody's looking for a pretty clean truck, unfortunately, I do not have a title for this one. It would just be sold on a bill of sale. But I would love to find a home for this truck complete, or I'd knock the cab and clip off of it, cut the frame, whatever you want. And in fact, if you see anything out here that you're interested in as we're walking around, my email is always in the description below. You can send me an email, and if you could, send me a screenshot of which vehicle you're interested in. A lot of times people say, I'm interested in that brown Chevy truck you showed. Well, there's probably 15 brown Chevy trucks out here, so. Or they'll say at timestamp such and such, which I can do if that's what I have to do, but then I have to actually go to the video, find that timestamp. And so if I'm busy doing something else when they message me or email me, obviously I'm not going to go do all that, and then I forget by the time I'm not busy. Yeah, there's a bunch of vehicles out here that probably should be crushed, like this one here, that one there, but for now we're going to go ahead and keep hanging on to them. And then on stuff like this, where I have this cutoff truck here, and then I have this bed, I'm just going to count that as one vehicle. I'm not going to count as separate vehicles. Bunches of big grain trucks out here. Last year I counted those separate, but this time I'm just going to count them as one vehicle. I've got those 3 old 70s or 80s Cadillacs back there. I probably should go ahead and crush those. Those are some of the first vehicles that came in out here, and I haven't sold a thing off of them. A few of these vehicles out here are not actually mine, like this Buick Special here. That one is my dad's. Then I've got some stuff like this van here. That's just junk, but it's a big 3/4 ton van that's hollow inside, makes great storage. So like if I go to a big auction where I buy a whole bunch of carburetors or magnetos or whatever it may be that I don't want just to sit out and I don't have time to organize it on the shelves, I can pull that van out and toss everything inside of it to keep it out of the weather, and then gradually pull it back out as I have time. I got a handful of decent cars in here, like this little car here. Pretty rust-free car. It's got a little bit in the door and a little bit here and there in the quarter panels, but overall it's a pretty solid car. It's just missing part of the front clip. And then I've got a bunch of these truck beds out here that I've already pulled off. I'm not sure how I'm going to inventory those. They're really not even vehicles though, because there's obviously no VIN number attached to them. So honestly, I probably shouldn't even count them. So actually, now that I think about it, not going to count those. I've got more vehicles that are just scrap, like this little Nissan or whatever this is down here, but it's packed clear full of antiques. So for now, I'm just going to count it in the inventory. Some of these vehicles I have out here, like this old Chevy up on top, there's almost nothing there, so really that shouldn't be counted, but I will go ahead and count it. And then obviously I have a lot of these big grain trucks to make up for it. This row here is all crusher vehicles once again. There's a deer back there. Kind of scared me for a second. But anyway, I'm going to be crushing these, but I'm going to wait until I have that little mini crusher of mine going. I think I've mentioned that before, that I want to make a video of doing nothing but crushing vintage cars with a vintage crusher. Just that thing needs a little bit more work than I was expecting. I probably shouldn't have bought it. I probably should have just found a better one and bought it instead. And this is kind of the end of this line along the fence over here. Here's a couple here that I keep thinking somebody ought to buy. I know it's rough, but this old International 4-wheel drive, step side long bed. It's got a lot of rust in it in different places, but it's just kind of a rare truck. And I've actually got a pretty good cab up front that I would include in on the deal to kind of either use for patch panels on this cab or just to replace this cab altogether. I think this is the last year they made pickups even, but who knows. And then this old truck here, I thought was a pretty tough looking truck with a good patina on it for a rat rod. That red and yellow like that. Plus it's a Super Duty with a hood scoop. I've had a lot of people trying to buy that hood scoop, but I don't want to sell it unless I cut the truck up, and I'm not ready to do that yet. I mean, it's a custom cab. It's got all the chrome on it. I just thought somebody that was into old semis would want this thing, or somebody that wanted to do a chassis swap on this sheet metal. I thought it would be good for that. Old fire department truck is what it is. All right, I counted this entire side of the driveway all the way down to the tree row down there. There's 115 vehicles along here. I did count the boat as a vehicle as well. It does have a serial number on it, so that's basically what I'm going off of. And so that was the easy part. Now I got to figure out how in the world I'm going to count this stuff over here, because this is kind of stacked everywhere. And so once again, I'm probably just going to count the cabs and not count any of these noses that are laying around. I'm trying to figure out the best way of doing this though. I guess I've got that retractable hardtop down there. That's kind of a good starting place. And so I'll start there and work my way around this entire middle island. So we're at 116, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm also counting the semi-trailers as vehicles because they have serial numbers on them. So that'd be 21, 22. They're all mostly full of vintage parts. 23, 24, 25. Oh, I forgot there's an old truck frame back here on the ground that would count in the scrap pile. Forgot all about that, so I'll be sure to add that in. There's my crusher that I got to work on. There's one cab back there, so 26. I'll count the tractor, 27. No, I'm not going to count that cab yet. I shouldn't have counted those trailers, and actually I'm going to knock those off. So we're back down to 25 because I'm going to count all this separate. That way I can keep it organized in my head. I am going to go ahead and count this van. It's packed clear full of vintage parts as well. So 26. Once again, that car there, I probably shouldn't count it, but I'll go ahead and count it because stuff like that truck bed trailer, I'm not counting. So I don't know. I'm trying to be fair on how I count it, but it would take me forever to inventory this if I was counting this as a partial vehicle and that. And I don't want to get into all that. These two vehicles here are already sold. Those belong to somebody else. That little trailer house mover right there is one of the few vehicles that was here when I bought the place. That's exactly where it was sitting then, and it's still sitting right there. There's a bunch of stuff. These Studebakers right here were another piece, one of the first pieces that I brought in here. Back in those days, you could drive through this entire place just about wherever you wanted to go. And I think that Chevy down there was another one of the first ones that came in. Well, that's got another early hood on it. I forgot I even had that one. I probably could have sold that several times. And I am counting these school buses as a vehicle as well on the inventory, because realistically, I'm probably not going to get around to crushing those anytime soon. The campers, I am not counting. I'm bringing the excavator back in here fairly soon, and I'm going to make it a priority to eliminate all of the campers. I don't get any money out of those, and so they're not worth counting on the inventory. We're up to 81, 82. Looks like I lost a tree limb. Landed on this car here. It was already pretty rough though, so I don't think it hurt it any. I am going to count this camper here. This is an old GMC camper. I'm not getting rid of it. It's got a lot of good parts. Yeah, this is a GMC. It's got the Tornado engine in it, front wheel drive. I've heard people like to take the chassis out of these and turn these into like ramp trucks or stuff like that. I don't know. We'll go ahead and count it. 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94. And I think there's 95, 96, 97, 98. I'm gonna go ahead and count these last few remaining compressors as vehicles as well. I just never got around to pulling the radiators out of them. It's kind of a lot of work. Maybe if I bring the excavator back, we'll do that, but just in case, I'll go ahead and count them. So that would be 200 right there with those two. And then there's a tractor, so that'd be 201. Now I'm gonna count all the cars that go around on this side of this driveway, all the way around out back. So there's quite a few vehicles here. I stopped right here just now. I'm at 215, and we'll just keep on going through here, walk around a little bit. Some of these vehicles have been here for quite a while in this area. The ones out back, some of those are a little bit newer arrivals. But yeah, this trailer house here is going away. I've said that a million times, but I thought I would have the excavator back already, but with my dad's accident, that just never happened. I guess I'll just take this time to talk about this. I've had a lot of people asking how he's doing, and he's doing much better. However, he's still on a cane, and when you don't work for, man, it's been 5, almost 6 months now since his accident. When you don't work for that long, your muscles atrophy or whatever it's called, to where they're not as strong as they were, and they go down pretty quickly, really. And so now he's having to build up strength all over again, which he's doing, and he's improving, and he's going a little bit ahead of schedule of what the doctors thought he would, so he's actually doing better than expected. That being said, the reason why we took the excavator from here out to that yard was so that I could rip apart all those school buses and campers and stuff like that, and I got a lot of it done, but I don't have time to do all that stuff anymore. I'm busy having to crush the cars and process cars, and my dad just now, actually earlier this week, was able to start hauling cars again a little bit. If they're real easy to where he can just back up to them and hook onto them and pull them on. So up until now, I've been having to haul cars too, on top of everything else. And I've had a little bit of help here and there, but I haven't had any permanent help during all this. And so I've been overloaded and haven't had time to touch that stuff out there. And so the excavator has just been sitting there doing pretty much nothing. Every now and then I use it to pull an engine out. And so I want to bring it back out here, and that way I can come out here like on the weekends and stuff like that and pull stuff like this apart and just get these trailer houses done. I've got this one, I've got one up front, and then I've got one over there. I've got 3 trailer houses that I want to eliminate, and then I've got, I think, 3 or 4 campers that I want to eliminate. And so that's on my have to get done list. Number 245 with this in here, I really had some big plans I wanted to do with this truck here since I bought it, but just haven't had time for it. I'm really hoping this year I'll be able to get things processed down quite a bit more. And my goal is that the year we're in actually right now, 2024, I was going to try to eliminate a lot of stuff and get things down to where in 2025 I could shift gears and do things a little bit different. But Dad's accident kind of changed all those plans, kind of set me behind a little bit. But my goal is within the first half, for sure by the end of 2025, I want to have things much reduced in size, I guess is the way of saying it, to where things are more manageable. And that way I can spend time doing the things that I actually want to do. Those things don't make nearly as much money, but life isn't all about making money sometimes. Here's a few more small ones that I'm going to go ahead and count. Nothing left of these. I only kept this one for art. That one there is like a 20s Chevy, and the engine actually still turns, believe it or not. And so that's why I hung on to it. I figured somebody might want that engine. And then after that, we'll cut the nose of it off. It's kind of a cool looking nose. And this is an old Ford Model TT. Not a whole lot left of it, but good yard art if nothing else. There's a tractor there that really should be in the crusher lot, but like I say, some of this may change if prices go up quite a bit next year. Something like that, definitely going to get the squeeze. And then a lot of stuff like this old Ford 1-ton here, there's not a whole lot left on this truck, so I may go ahead and knock the last little bit of stuff out of that. And the 80s Ford there and stuff like that. Just go ahead and process it and crush it. We'll see. If not, it'll be good seed for the next year. I am not going to count that boat there. That one's just trash. That's one there I'll probably pack in a dumpster and ship it away. Although it's kind of a landmark. It's been here this long. There's that boat there. There's another one back in the trees. And then there's another one way out back in the trees. They've been here forever and a day. Most of my entire life. The one out back has been here longer than I've been alive. And so, I mean, at this point in time, I might get rid of that one. But the ones that are in the trees, probably just let them sit. All right, we're at 370 as of the white truck right there. This truck is actually sold already. I just sold it yesterday, so he's coming to get that next week. And so I'm not quite done, but I figure this is a good breaking point because of this little road through here. And so now I can start over again here. In theory, if I had enough time, if this is what I did full time, I'd be out here in a lot of these trucks. I'd be popping the cab and front clips off of them, setting those aside, putting the engines off to the side in one of the buildings or something like that. If they were still a good turning, rebuildable engine, then I could process all these frames and beds and whatnot, and I'd have a lot more room out here. But this is just what I do for a hobby. Mainly what I do is the recycling side of things. And so the old car thing is just a hobby. Now this is all stuff, I do want to point this out. I bought this place in October of 2020. I didn't really start bringing cars in here until probably really it was 22 when I started bringing cars in a lot. But in 21, I started bringing cars in here fairly steady. My little Plymouth wagon is number 400. Getting up there. I'm actually honestly higher than I thought we were going to be at this point already, because I still have this entire field. I have that next field is clear full, and then I have a bunch more up there in front of that in that next field. So I'm maybe halfway, maybe not. I don't know. This is another one here. I thought for sure somebody would buy the cab and front clip off of this. It's kind of ugly looking, but really it's just got a few dents in it, but there's no rust, no through rust. I say that sometimes, and I have some people give me a hard time because I say a truck like this is rust free. And then they look at this hood that's all covered in surface rust, and they say, rust free, what do you call that? But anybody that actually deals with cars knows what they're talking about, knows that like through rust is what you call rust, and surface rust is just something you expect on a 70-year-old vehicle. You do have those guys that if it's not a perfect numbers matching restoration on a high-end muscle car or something rare like that or something valuable, that it's just junk to them. I have people like that all the time. I get cool stuff like that old 73 LTD four-door Survivor car with 70,000 miles, always parked inside its whole life. I had all sorts of people saying that thing's just junk and it should go to a derby or something like that because it wasn't a two-door and it wasn't something desirable. That might have been true back in the 70s and 80s, but that's really not true anymore. Anytime you find something that old that's in that good a condition, it's worth hanging on to. And what's funny about it is I've got a bunch of two-door muscle car type stuff out here. No like Yenko Camaros or nothing like that, but you know, I've got a Cyclone GT and I've got a Comet Caliente and I've got some decent cars. They're hard to sell. I sold that 73 four-door. I mean, it took me maybe 15 minutes to sell that car. I mean, it sold as fast as I listed it. You tell me which is more desirable. And it sold for more money too. But anyway, let's see here. Where was I? Okay, 401, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This car here, I thought somebody would buy it. I had a lot of people interested in it, but it is pretty rough. I thought it'd make a good sign or something like that, but nobody ever came through on it, so I'll probably make a crushing video out of that at some point in time. I've actually got quite a bit of empty space over here still. This is all my property and it's all wide open. I just kind of like to keep a little bit of wide open space on my property. Every now and then I like to get away from cars, and I mean, I can go out to the lake or I can go out in the woods or something like that, go out to the national park, things like that, but sometimes, I mean, this is a 15-minute drive from my house, so it's a little bit closer and easier for me just to come out here, and I can go hike back here in the trees and just sit down and enjoy the nature for a while. I like cars, but every now and then I get pretty burned out on them. This is number 431, 432, and then I already counted these two down here. So 432 is where we're at now. Definitely more than I expected. These grain trucks take up a lot of space, so there wasn't as many back here in this back area as there was up front. So now we're going to switch over to this side and see how high the count goes. Like, this is what I want to do with all of my grain trucks, is this right here. If nothing else, just cut them and line them up like this. Even better would be to have the sheet metal off and then have the engines off and ready to go. That way stuff would be easy to ship, but this is at least tolerable, and these take up a whole lot less room and they look a lot better than this jumbled mess of all these great big grain trucks stacked everywhere. 51, 52. And now we're getting into a bunch of cars. Not as many grain trucks in this area right here. There's more grain trucks over there on that side, but this area here is mostly cars. So that number is going to keep racking up pretty quickly. I counted this row of cabs, but now I just got to count all these in here. So let's go through here. 53, 4, 5, 6. A lot of this stuff in here is honestly just mostly crusher material, but some of these, like that 57 Chevy right there, that's got a really nice looking dash in it that either somebody might need for their car or it would make a good wall hanger if nothing else. And like this car here has got a good rear end in it that's a desirable piece, but while it's in the car, it's not that desirable. So just in theory, someday I'll have it to where I can take stuff like that, pull the last few little good parts off of it, get them inventoried, and then go ahead and scrap the rest of it. People say, oh, they don't eat nothing. You should just keep everything. You never know what'll sell next. And that's true to some extent. They don't eat nothing, but property taxes do eat stuff. And I figured it up one time, and now I can't remember offhand. It's been too long, but it was something like, I want to say it was like 7 cents per car per year that these things cost to keep. And that's just because my property taxes out here on this just vacant field basically are pretty low. At our lots in town, it's even more expensive than that. So, I mean, I know 7 cents isn't a lot, but it does add up over time when you have this many cars over this much time. 504, 505, oh, 506. I forgot that Impala was sitting there. So 506. And now all that's counted. I think I have 3 cars over there. So 507, 508, 509. And this truck out in the middle is 510. Oh, there's one more, so 511. So we're at 511 for all this right here. As you can see, I started stacking some of them just to get me a little bit more room. And I may come back through here one of these days next year and kind of gather these up a little bit better and stack a lot of these that don't really matter. Stuff like that Cadillac and that Buick or whatever it is there in front of it, both of those could be stacked together. This Pontiac has a real nice roof on it, 4-door hardtop roof, so I don't want to tear that roof up, so that would be a good one to not stack. Or it could go on top, but sometimes to get the top car back down, you have to go through the windows. So honestly, I probably just wouldn't stack that one. And here's another example of why I save all these old truck beds. This is what I'd like to do with all the cabs, is set these truck beds out. Then I can set these cabs on here, keeps them out of the dirt. I actually had 3 on here, but I sold the one in the middle a while back. And I was actually looking for this cab the other day. Oh no, this is the one that's damaged in the back anyway, so never mind. I had a guy wanting to buy the back of a cab off of one of these trucks. I ended up finding another one up front, but it was still the whole truck, and so it was more work to cut. In my head, I was picturing this as a better cab, and it was just accessible to where a guy could cut it pretty easy. But that would be true of this cab here. Obviously, as you can see, there's no doors on it, so that would be a really easy one to cut up. 512, 13, and 14. So 514 now is what we're up to. And that's counting all of these back here now. We still got quite a ways to go. This is taking a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. This is another one of the first, I guess you'd call it a vehicle that came into the property out here, is this old case tractor with the buzzsaw on the front. I thought it was a neat little tractor with that blade on the front of it, would make good yard art, but I haven't been able to sell it yet. I've had a few people interested, but everybody wants to give me, you know, $200 for it or something like that, and I paid more than that for it. And here's the tractor row. That farm I cleaned up here a number of years back, one of the first farm cleanup series I did on YouTube. All these tractors were there. I lined them up all along here, and I was gonna just scrap them back out when prices went back up, but then I got to look at them, and they're so cool along here that I just went ahead and left them here. I keep thinking I need to get a couple of these junkier ones like that one out, crush it, and put something a little bit cooler in its place. But I've never done it. I may never do it. These may sit here forever. They're not worth anything. I mean, there's a few parts on these that are worth something, but for the most part, they're just scrap. They just look really cool lined up along here. All different brands. You got Alice, John Deere, Alice, Co-op. I think a Case down there, Farmall, International, and I don't remember what all these are. There's a Ford and another Case over there. There's my crispy Pontiac, burnt to a crisp. I want to take it, push it through the trees, and push it back there close to the property line just for, I don't know, yard art back there whenever I go exploring back in the trees. Gives me something to look at while I'm back there. But up to this truck right here, we're at 552, counting these 3 here. So now we'll keep walking this direction, and I guess we'll kind of do this little batch back here, and then we'll do the ones in the middle. 553, 554, 5. This Dodge here is one that somebody really ought to buy and fix up. It's not in bad condition, came from down south. It's like a 67, I think, Dodge, half-ton, long bed, step side. Like I say, it's a little bit beat up, but there's very minimal rust. I thought it was cool, and so I bought it, but you know, I really don't have a use for it. And then back here, along this back row, is all the Studebakers that are left over. Well, not all of them, but a bunch of the Studebakers left over from the Studebaker yard that I crushed out. Really not any value there, but like that Zephyr. I mean, how often do you see a Zephyr? And so I thought, you know, I'll just put it on the edge of the property. Be cool yard art. Same thing with all these old 2-door Studebakers. You just don't hardly ever see them. And so while they might not be worth anything, they're really not worth much for scrap either. And so I figured, why not? Worst case scenario, I can crush them again some other day. Now we'll start in here. We got 604 is where we're at with this one. 605, 606, 7, 8. Then we got the Studebaker zip van. It'll be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I probably should just stop here where it's an even breaking point and then go back over here so I don't have to walk back up. So yeah, let's just do that. It looks like we're up to 568. I did not count that big truck over there. That one's actually sold and paid for. That's another one on my list of vehicles that are out here that do not belong to me. I mean, technically, I guess it kind of belongs to me because it's been paid for now for 2.5 years, I think. But he did contact me about 4 months ago and asked if I still had it and said he still really wanted it and he was very sorry for taking so long to come get it. So I don't know. I'm too soft-hearted, I guess. But there are many times that people are waiting on me and I drag my feet on stuff. And so I try to treat other people how I would want to be treated. And so I guess I'll just let the truck sit here a little bit longer. Here's the truck I was telling you about that we cut the back of the cab off of it. It wasn't that big of a deal to get it off, but it just would have been a lot easier if this cab was already off the frame. I let it sit out here because we did use the torch on it, and I didn't want to put it back in this dry grass until I knew for sure that it was cooled down. But it's been sitting now for 4 or 5 days, so I can go ahead. I'll probably honestly just go ahead and take it all the way out back, get it out of the way, because I still want to clear this whole area out, dig my junkyard cabin out again, and start camping more often. I want to bring the kids out here with me and stuff like that, but the problem is this area grows up with stickers really bad, and I can't get in here and keep it mowed down because I got too many cars in here. Whereas if I get rid of all these cars and stuff around it, I want to build a patio back behind it. And that's the sort of stuff I've been wanting to do now for several years, and the time never comes. And so I am endeavoring to make the time. Got to sacrifice a few things to make the time, but we're going to make it happen. But I believe with that car right there is 691. I did count the junkyard cabin. Technically it is a vehicle, it's not an actual cabin. Oh, I forgot the airplane. Technically that has serial numbers on it, so I don't know what you would do there. When I bought this, the FAA contacted me because this thing was still registered with the FAA, and they said, you have this airplane, and would you like to keep paying taxes on it? We were told that it was sold at an auction and that you're the new owner. And I said, no, I'd rather not pay property taxes every year on an airplane, piece of an airplane thing that I may never do anything with. And so we deactivated the serial number on this. I'm told that it's very hard to get that number reactivated to where you can be able to fly the plane in the future. But obviously this one's probably never going to get flown again. And if somebody had to have an old Cessna or whatever this is that bad, they could probably figure it out. So I don't think we're going to count that. Let's see here. I counted all this. I already counted all this back here. And so I guess we just have the one corner of the yard left and kind of a few up here along the front. And then I think I have 4 or 5 out in the very front. Here's another scrap one that I forgot about. This Astrovan came in and it's got a brand new all-wheel drive transmission in it. And that's the only reason why I didn't crush this van before. But since then, I've sold the interior, I've sold the back doors, I've sold the wheels and tires, I've sold the mirrors, I've sold a bunch of dash parts, a steering column. I forget what all I've sold. A ton of stuff I've sold off of this Astrovan, but the transmission is still here, so I don't know what to do. I mean, I guess it worked out in the long run, but the one thing I saved it for is pretty much the only thing that's left. But you know, honestly, I'd probably just go ahead and, I don't know, I hate to crush that transmission. I guess I'll count it in the inventory. That poor lady paid, I forget how much money. It was a boatload of money for that transmission, and she drove it for about 1,000 miles and slammed it into a deer and totaled it out. All the vehicles I have out here, all these antique vehicles everywhere, and parts hardly ever sell, but this thing here has actually been pretty popular. And we just hit 700 cars. This is number 701, 702 right here. And I was thinking there was probably about 700 cars out here total, including all the scrap cars. So I was way off because that 700 does not include the 80, actually 86, counting that other frame that I found, scrap cars that are out here. So 702, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is there anything around this corner over here? That Mustang will count in that group over there. We got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I thought for sure somebody would buy this old 63 Ford bread van camper thing. It's not very rusty other than surface rust, and I have a title for it, but once again, that's kind of a hard sell, I guess. I didn't give that much for it, so it'll be all right. I just realized I have a bunch of scrap cars right here in this area that I forgot to count. I stopped at this Jeep and I went that direction, and I never came back through here, so I'm gonna have to add to that 86 number a little bit yet. It's bad when you have so many vehicles that you forget what all you have. I'm gonna go ahead and count this convertible as a scrap car. There's really not much left. So counting this one here, we're at 94 for scrap vehicles out here. That's ones that I'm for sure gonna crush. Like I say, some of these others that I'm counting, I may wind up crushing those anyway, but so 94 for sure crushers. And then before I forget, I think we're at 717 on the antique cars that I'm not crushing. So 18, 19, 20. I forgot about this Mustang. I sold that here about 3 or 4 months ago. A guy actually traded me a Marlin 3030 for it. Pretty nice condition. The Mustang's not, the Marlin is. The Mustang's a little bit rough, but it is a V8 car, and structure on this car is actually still pretty solid. That's the main reason why he wanted it. But he was supposed to come pick this up about a month after he traded the Marlin to me, and I haven't seen him since, so I need to get a hold of him. It's not in the way back here, so it's not a real big deal. 751, 752, 53, 54, 55, and then all of those cars belong to Sean. This car here, honestly, I'm probably going to crush it too. I should count it in the crush cars, and in fact, I think I will, so we'll knock one off. So we're at 754, and then we'll make it 95 for the crushers. I had a guy come out here and look this car over with a fine-tooth comb. Let me back up. He messaged me and said, I for sure want that car. And I said, well, man, I've got a really busy schedule right now. He says, man, please, will you meet me out there? I'll pay you for the car. I'll show up with a trailer, the whole 9 yards. I'll take that car. I need it bad. So I canceled some other stuff to meet him out here on this car. He shows up, doesn't have his trailer. That was the first red flag. And he says, oh, I had a blown out tire, so I couldn't make it with the trailer. But if you just, I'll pay you for it. We'll set it out front. I'll bring some tires. I'll load it on my own. So I said, okay. We came in here and looked at it, and he says, I had the car listed for I think $600 or $700. He looks at it and he says, yeah, I'll take it for sure. You'll take what, you know, 200 bucks for it? That's more than it'll bring crushing it, that's a lot less than it'll bring crushing it. And oh man, that was just a, that was a very frustrating moment. I had to really bite my tongue on that one. Don't ever, ever tell the crusher guy what a car will crush for. The only thing you accomplish when you do that is guaranteeing that you will never own that car. And when he said that at that point in time, I wasn't even interested in selling the car for full price to him. That set me off. I didn't lose my temper. I didn't say nothing. I just said, no, I think you wasted my time. And he looks at me kind of funny and he says, oh, well, I figured everybody comes down on price. And I said, if you would have offered me 50 bucks less or something like that, then yeah, I'd knock 50 bucks off to pay for your fuel. But when you go offer me a fraction of my asking price, that's just downright insulting. So that kind of sealed that car's fate. I'll probably pull a few dash parts, maybe the grill, a few other plastic parts off of it that are still good, and we'll go ahead and make a pancake out of that one. Other cars like this one here, I'll probably save this one for when I have the mini crusher going. That'll be a good one to run through there. That one there, I sold the engine out of that probably, 6, 7 years. I sold the engine out of that before I bought this property. And in fact, I think I only had one child at the time I sold that, and she was just a baby, and she's 9 now. So realistically, I doubt he's ever going to come get that engine. It's got a 454 in it, so we may go ahead and crush that one as well. Plus, I forgot I have a few more crushers over here that I forgot about too. So that would be 96 over there, 97, 98, 99. And I think on the other side of that dump truck is another little truck that's scrap as well. So that would be 100 crusher cars. I guess we'll go ahead and count these through here real quick. I am at 767, be 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that puts us at 800, counting those there. And so now all that I have left is I have this row right here, and then all this right here, plus a few more over in the corner. And then I think I have a few along that front fence over there. So we're getting down to the end of it. So 800, let's see here. 801, 802, 803, 804, be 45, 46, 47, 48. So 848. I think I did not count this little group right in here yet. 49, 50, 51, 52. And then we got a few more over here. We got 53, 54, 55. I already counted those, already counted all these. So yeah, we're at 855 so far. Let's just go ahead and jump across the way over here. Oh, I forgot about this car right here. So 56. This one belongs to Sean. All of that is Sean's there. That cab is sold already. So let's see here, we got 58, 59. This is Sean's. Then we got 60, and then 61 around the corner. 62, 63, 64, 65. Can't really see it on camera very good. 66, 67, 68, 69. So 869. And now we just got this last little group of cars to go. I think we're gonna hit 900. Plus 100, that's 1,000 cars out here. We'll see, it's gonna be close. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. Forgot about this boat, so 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, counting that one back there. Then we got 84, 85 with the 2 trailers, 88, 89, 90, counting the old Chevy bread van. Got 3 trailers, so 91, 92, 93. I already counted these in the junk pile here, so we got 94 counting the bus, 95 for the other trailer, 96 counting the semi, 97, 98, 99 counting that one back there. Almost. Almost. We didn't quite make it to 900. Wait. Just a second. I forgot. There's 2 motorcycles laying right here. Do those count as vehicles? I mean, you have to tag them and all that good stuff. Now that one there's not much left of it, but that one's complete. So just for the sake of this video, we're gonna count this. We're at 900, counting that right there. So that means all together, counting the scrap cars and the old cars, or at least the ones I'm not crushing, we are sitting at 1,000 vehicles out here. Like I say, some of those are just cabs, but there's a whole bunch of bare beds that I didn't count. And there's a whole bunch of big school buses and big trucks and things like that that I only counted as one as well. Oh, there's another cab over there. So I won't count that one because I counted the motorcycle, or I guess we can say I don't count the motorcycle, but I do count that cab. Just for the sake of the video, we're gonna say 1,000. Oh, there's another motorcycle right there. So now we're really getting up there. And that's not counting the fact that this semi-trailer, that box truck are both clear full of antiques. That bus has quite a few antiques in it. There's tons of stuff, these front clips and whatnot sitting around on the ground, bunches of antiques through here. Stuff like this little pull behind trailer right here, that there is worth more than a lot of the cars out here. And so I didn't count any of that. There's not a whole lot of valuable scrap out here as far as that goes. I mean, I've got a handful of aluminum wheels, but they all still have tires on them. There's a few batteries out here, not a whole lot. But as far as vintage stuff goes, I've got 3 more boxes over here that are clear full of stuff. Both of those trailers are clear full of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff in that big barn over there. I've got 3 or 4 more vans out here scattered around that are clear full of old car parts and vintage items. And I've got this whole area over here is clear full of stuff. And I didn't count any of that stuff. So it's crazy to me to think that all this has accumulated within basically 4 years. And that's not counting who knows how many vehicles that I've sold out of here that people have hauled off. Plus I've crushed, I don't know how many cars out of here. I know I've crushed over 1,000 cars out of here. The crusher's been here at least twice. So like I say, there's well over 1,000 cars have left this property, and there's 1,000 here still. So that means in less than 4 years, I've purchased over 2,000 cars. And that's not counting what I bought at the other yards. Plus when I go to a lot of these farm cleanups, or like that Studebaker yard that I crushed out, I crushed over 100 cars there. So if a guy really got down to it, honestly, in the last 4 years since I've started doing YouTube, I've been doing YouTube a little less than 4 years actually, but let's just say 4 years for easy numbers. So that means since I've started doing YouTube, we've probably gone through at least 4, maybe 5,000 cars. That is just crazy to me to think about that many cars in a town with a population of about 40, 45,000 people. Now, a lot of these cars, I did go long distance, like I bought 90 cars, but that was only 40 minutes from here. So it wasn't like I was going to Timbuktu. And I do have a guy that picks up a lot of vehicles around the state for me, but that's maybe 100 vehicles that he's picked up that were long distance. We're getting ready to crush out a place that has about 100 cars they want to get rid of. We've got a farm cleanup lined up that has, I don't remember how many vehicles they've got. It's like 20 or 30, plus a bunch of other iron. When you count all the iron we've gone through a lot of stuff since I've started YouTube. I guess right now I'm just trying to explain the scale of what we've done together. You've been riding along with me for most of it. I don't know, maybe it's not weird to you, but to me it just seems weird and impressive and kind of crazy to think about that many cars and then thousands of tons of iron and prepared steel and stuff like that. A lot of times you guys don't even see that stuff. I've shown little bits and pieces. It would be impossible for me to film everything that goes on out here. I was just looking and I completely forgot about that semi cab right there. So I guess, I don't know if that's in the crusher. That's probably in the crusher pile. So I guess 101 crushers. So that puts us at 1,001. And that's still not counting the motorcycles. But I've been out here doing this now for about 2.5 hours and my legs are starting to get worn out. So I am done walking around in 15 layers of clothes. I'm gonna go home, shed a few layers. I hope you guys enjoyed this walk around tour of the place. I didn't even get to show everything. If I showed everything out here in this video, it would be 2.5 hours long. And while some people may like that, most people probably wouldn't. But if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. As always, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Remember to get out there, find yourself an adventure, do a little bit of exploring, and hopefully you can stay warm. We will see you on the next adventure.